Eastern, 5 Pacific for the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week. Tonight from Camden Yards in Baltimore, Mo Vaughn and the Red Sox take on Cal Ripken and the Orioles right after Baseball Tonight next.
On this edition of Baseball Tonight, someone must have realized no managers have been fired yet. An 11th hour hanging in Florida. Plus, Darryl and Dwight reunited in a new borough. Strawberries in full swing. The Indians will do anything to keep the White Sox from getting away with a sweep. And the Padres end the holiday weekend with a bang. All on Baseball Tonight. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday edition of Baseball Tonight. Gary Miller and Harold Reynolds with you on this first Sunday in July, the last Sunday of the first half, and the last of Renee Latchman in Florida. More on the first managerial casualty. But, Harold, this also marks the return of Darryl Strawberry. How do you think he's changed?
Oh, he's changed. I talked with him a couple days ago. He's more excited, I think, about playing than he has been in many, many years. Going back to the minor leagues kind of puts things in perspective for you, and that's where Darryl's at right now. Okay, he's still got that same power swing, and that's why they brought him up to the stadium. The Yankees finishing up with Milwaukee, already possessing the best record in the majors and the biggest lead. But only the Royals and Twins have hit fewer homers in the American League, and every playoff contender has scored more runs than New York. Another reason they brought up Darryl Strawberry, who's got a different approach with the fans as well, signing autographs. Kenny Rogers in the mound, Dave Nelson with a CNI single through the right side, and right away Darryl's team is in a 2-0 hole to Milwaukee. To the second, same score, John Jaha aboard. Matt Mieske goes with it to the right side. Jaha to third to put runners to the corner. Joe Torre says, hey, there's something wrong with my lineup card. Richie Juke Krobel checks it over, talks it over with Phil Garner. Sure enough, Mieske was supposed to bat 8th. Jose Valentin was supposed to bat 7th. Torre says, I knew that. So Mieske is out, and he's up again, which means that Jose Valentin behind him gets credited with an offer. Oh! And it takes the Brewers out of a big inning. There's your lineup card. Bottom of the second, Darryl Strawberry's got the high Sox going. He's got a standing O, and he's on another bureau. From the Queens to the Bronx, and Darryl lights into one. His very first pitch he sees from Ben McDonald looked better than it was, but he stung the ball and flies out, Harold. Well, Ben McDonald had the high fastball going, mid-90s. He's keeping up high on all the Yankee hitters today. He's got a lot of pop flies, throwing more fastballs than the breaking ball. And here gets Mariano Duncan off balance with the breaking ball there. So he mixed his pitches very well today, Gary.
He was looking good, pitched into the ninth with a shutout until he got one up to the chest of Tino Martinez, who jumped on it and delivered it to the alleyway for his 14th home run. Now, Graham Lloyd on in relief to face Strawberry. Strawberry skies one. That's headed for the stands. But the cameraman thought it was deeper than the right fielder did. But the bases are still loaded. 2 outs. Mike Fetter's now on to face Wade Boggs. Nastiness. The bottom drops out. Boggs also popped up a couple of times in this game. And the Brewers of Phil Garner, he didn't know what his lineup was, but with Ben McDonald out there, it didn't matter. Boggs, 4 for 27 now with runners in scoring position and 2 outs with the game-ending strikeout there. The Yanks finished the first half 30-15 at home, their best overall mark at the break in 9 years. McDonald has won 5 in a row. 7 of his 9 wins have stopped Brewer losing streaks, including averting this sweep. His streak has coincided with the warming up of the weather after a brutal spring in Wisconsin. His ERA has dropped more than a run in June and July. He's allowing 2.5 less runners per inning. But Harold, let's get back to the big story in Yankee Stadium. Strawberry didn't join the Yankees until last August 4th, so he was a month ahead of schedule. Only got about 87 at-bats last year, just hit 3 home runs. You think it's going to be a different story this time around? Well, they're looking for the power out of Darryl, and one thing that he's always done, he's kept his same classic swing, and he's a lot more physically stronger, so I think that he was going to definitely look at his swing here as we go back. And look at him early with the Mets. Same classic stance, got the high leg kick. And right here, he drives this ball deep to right field in Shea, the other side of New York. But here he is in the Bronx today. First swing, he gets a fastball 90 mile an hour from Ben McDonald away, and he tries to yank it. But look at the physical appearance there. Look at how much solider he is. He's just physically solider.
But one thing Darryl does do is he puts people in the stands. They're excited to see him in New York. It's kind of neat to see that.
Yeah, they gave him a standing ovation. He went 0 for 4, but he hit the ball hard every time. He looks good, fresh out of the box. The Indians picked off former White Sox Julio Franco from Japan this winter. Chicago brought back Harold Baines, who was Saturday's homering hero, setting up a potential sweep as that series for the Central lead closed in Cleveland on Sunday. The Indians staring with Chad Ojai facing Robin Ventura. Ojai had been roughed up by the White Sox in relief, now getting a rare start. Ventura tees on one, trying to tie the game in the second. Kenny Lofton with a spectacular effort. Got glove, but didn't get ball. Ventura's 19th home run continues his hitting streak. What an effort by Kenny Lofton. Spectacular even in not taking away the home run. Jim Tomei, though, touched up Alex Fernandez. Rips a shot up the box. Lofton would score. Omar Vizquel had a career-high 4 runs, including that one there. Trout took a 3-1 lead. It's 4-1 now as he take it to the 7th. Vizquel had 4 hits. The White Sox only had 6 on the game, and Paul Osemacher just brutal to Guillen there. No chance on that one as the White Sox lose it 6-1. For the second straight weekend, Chicago misses out on a chance to tie for the lead as the season series is back even, 5-5. Cleveland climbs back to a 2-game lead in the Central. They don't deal with the White Sox again until mid-September in Comiskey. You have to go all the way back to the bicentennial to find the national pastime patient enough to keep every manager it started with for 86 games. That's when Don Zimmer replaced Darryl Johnson in Boston. That was the year before the 3rd expansion, long before wild cards, but the Black Queen came up for Rene Lachemann, turning the final Sunday of the first half into Black Sunday as he got sacked by the Marlins. A 7-game losing streak and falling behind the Mets, and just a game and a half from last was Lachemann's downfall.
I wasn't expecting it by any means, but when you get called at 7:30 in the morning, and before I was going to go to church, and usually Dave, you know, if I tell him I'm going to go to church, and he would say, you know, go ahead. But once he said, you know, you come on down here, I knew I wasn't going to go ahead and be for breakfast by any means.
You know, it's like someone from your family had been taken away. You know, you got that booming voice in the dugout screaming at you all game, and you know, cheering you on, and then not to hear that is it's an empty feeling.
But they still hear Cookie Rojas from the third base coaching box. He's the interim manager. Marlins up 1-0. Pete Incaviglia then adds to it. Terry Pendleton's fly ball is dropped. Jeff Conine slides in safely in the 3rd hero. That was costly.
Well, Russ Springer throwing a slider here. Benito cannot handle, and Conine comes across. Yes, it was costly.
That made it 2-0. Tied at 4 now. We take it to extra innings. The Marlins rally, come back and tie it, and send it to extra frames. And Charles Johnson delivers. Pendleton comes home. Next man up is Alex Arias. Arias will hit it to Ricky Otero. Oh, head the other way, Ricky. Johnson will score. Arias will come all the way around and rule a triple and an error, and the Marlins can finally have a lighter moment. Come from behind in 10 innings to win it 7-4. Lachemann was in the clubhouse congratulating his ex-team after the game after spending the afternoon watching the man who had to fire him, Dave Dombrowski, watching the game with him. Lachemann will also take the team charter back to Miami. With the holiday weekend, he couldn't get another flight out of Philadelphia. As Rene walks away, on June 7th, Lachemann's club was a game over 500. They had just won 19 of 27. Starting the next day, they won only 9 of their next 27. They went from 4 games from a playoff slot to 9 back. When Lachemann was fired, the difference in the runs per game and ERA should have produced something far closer to a 500 record. Ironically, Harold, next to Lachemann's bio in the Marlins media guide, it says the average tenure of an expansion manager is 3.5 years. That's exactly what Lachemann got. But he was their only manager they've ever had. What direction do you think they go in now?
Well, it's interesting. Like Jeff Conine was saying, you know, this is a part of a family. Anytime the manager gets fired, it's almost like a family feeling. But Rene Lachemann was one of the guys that helped orchestrate this organization. So they went out this winter, got high-priced free agents, and they decided they wanted to win. The owner didn't get what he wanted. The manager's got to go. Somebody is going to get fired in a situation when the team isn't playing well. Unfortunately, it was the manager. So now, what do? Are they an expansion team, or are they really making a step towards being a contender? And I think they're going to try to go ahead and be a contender. Interesting thing, Tony Perez is in that front office. You know, hey, if they said they want to name a manager quick, I don't see anybody really more qualified right now than he is.
Yeah, Cookie Rojas won't stay there, but whoever takes over has got the same problem Lachemann does. They brought in Brown and Leiter. They've been fantastic pitchers. They're all-stars. But the team doesn't score runs. What's the problem there?
Well, when you got a hitter like Gary Sheffield, he's on a pace for hitting 50 home runs, but Offensively, they have struggled all year. So what they've done is they pitched around Gary all year long, not giving him much to hit. I mean, here's a situation right here. 4 pitches in a game where he's got a runner on second. He gets runners in scoring position. They're not going to give him anything. Obviously, Glavine pitching away. They decide to go ahead and, after he goes 2-0 count, put him on. This is what a lot of teams have been doing. And look at what he's doing with runners in scoring position. The rest of the ball club has not produced. You know, you've had injuries. Devon White came over. He's been hurt. Khalil Varens goes down with an injury. Terry Pendleton hasn't produced. So anytime you don't have production and your main guy in the lineup is the guy, the stud, I'm not giving him anything to hit either. And that's what the National League has decided to do.
Yeah, he had never walked more than 55 times in one season. His career had 70 coming into the weekend. They're pitching around Gary Sheffield. We got more to bring you on baseball tonight, including the team that leads the National League East. A duel of division leaders in Dixie. Maddox against Bagwell and the Astros. It's the finale of the first half, our Sunday night game of the week. The Orioles wrapping up with Boston. Roberto Alomar already battling a protracted slump. Missed this game with a finger injury. Luis Polonia moved to lead off for Baltimore. Coming into the series finale between these two, the Sox had lost 4 out of 5, 9 of their last 11 away from Fenway Park. After hovering around the half-and-half mark most of the first half, Houston built a head of steam, broke away from the division, and dropped in on Dixie, where they have dominated the last 3 years. An astronomical .800 winning percentage in Atlanta since '93 helped Houston to a 7-game win streak heading into Saturday. But then suddenly, Steve Avery and the Braves bullpen broke them down, and now they had to deal with Greg Maddux. Now, Maddux proved mortal earlier this week against Montreal. He was dealing with the heats, probably saying, well, I'm not pitching in the Olympics. Tied at 1 in the second. Donnie Wall, the Astros have never lost when he's on the mound, but Orlando Miller lost this shot by Jeff Blauser, and Mark Whitten gives the Braves the lead. We're not sure what happened to him. And then, Maddox's personal catcher, Eddie Perez, tees a shot off the wall. Freddie McGriff will come home. Here comes Mark Whitten heading for the plate, and he beats the throw, and the Braves are up 4-1. Same score in the 6th. Jeff Bagwell had just been bluffed by Maddux in a full swing that almost knocked him over. Now he charges, goes across the diamond, makes a great play, and then drops it, bobbles it, throws it away, and it turns into disaster. Blauser scores to make it 5-1. Atlanta eventually routs the Astros 9-1. It's the second straight loss after a 7-game win streak. Maddux now 17-6 lifetime against Houston. He's posted 8 of his 9 wins in Atlanta, losing only once. In his last 6 starts in Fulton County, Maddux 5-0 with an ERA just over 1. The Three Rivers, the Cardinals coming in with a share of the Central lead. Tony La Russa giving the sign for the sweep. Pirates up 1-0 with a man aboard. In the bottom of the first, Mike Morgan didn't have it. Jeff King did. 9-game hit streak, hammers a homer, his 21st home run of the year. That's already a career high. Then another big situation in the 5th. Pirates up 4-2 with the bases juiced. Charlie Hayes won't get the granny, but he does get a triple by the time Ray Langford can catch up with it. Clears the bases. And noogie attack. You're not going to sweep me. The Cards miss out on the chance to hold first alone at the break. King, in addition to his 21 homers, has 64 RBIs. The best power numbers by a Pirate in the first half since Willie Stargell 23 years ago. But Harold, Tony La Russa has had a half a season to readjust in the National League. At least he holds a half share of first place. Now, he had 1 pinch running appearance as a Cub. He once batted 7 times as a Brave, so he knows a little bit about the National League. What's he picked up as a manager? Well, it's a whole new ball game, but Tony's whole key to Tony La Russa is his knowledge of the game and of his players. He had to learn a whole new team, and he had to learn a whole new league. And now, don't be surprised you see the Cardinals in this race, because the man knows how to handle that pitching staff. That's what got him there with Oakland, and that's what did the championship in Chicago. So Tony knows what he's doing. Now he's learned his personnel. He's figured out the shortstop situation. He's learned his pitching staff, and he's learned the league. It's going to be very interesting to see how he handles things down the stretch. This is a very knowledgeable manager. Yeah, it's going to be a great race. Can't be any better than it was in the first half. They're dead even. When we come back, the Mets trying to make Montreal even more miserable. Butch Husky and company moving within a step of a 4-game sweep. Here's this Sunday's Dunlop Who's Hot, Who's Not. Starting with the Scorchers in the National League. As you look through the list, every one of these guys an all-star. The first half comes to a close in Camden Yards, where the Orioles will try to creep a little closer to the Yankees and make it 3 of 4 from Boston. They'll have to do it without Roberto Alomar, their new leadoff man, who may now also miss the All-Star game. With more on our matchup, John Miller and Joe Morgan.
Thanks, Gary. John Miller, Joe Morgan from Camden Yards, Baltimore. Sellout crowd tonight, but they won't be seeing Roberto Alomar. He got hurt here yesterday against the Boston Red Sox, making a dive at first base. And, Joe, I know you don't like that kind of a play.
No, I don't like to see guys dive into first base. I think yesterday was a result of the fact that he's been in a little hitting slump. Now, he's hustling all out, giving it that last extra effort, trying to beat it out for a base hit. He ends up injuring his left ring finger on his left hand. And look at that. I mean, he's going to be out for a while. And I don't believe you should ever dive into first base unless you're avoiding a tag.
All right, so he'll be out tonight and probably the All-Star game, too, maybe for up to a week. Now, there was controversy here last week about Cal Ripken. Orioles owner Peter Angelos made some comments that Cal should be more of a leader in the ball club. Well, we asked Cal about that before the ball game here today.
The way that he explained it to me, I didn't take it as a direct criticism. Matter of fact, I think that he was just, in a way, the way that he delivered it to me on the phone, it sounded like he was giving me a compliment, that he was saying that at this point of my career and the things that I've accomplished and the stature that I've gotten to, that I could use that in a whole lot more effective way that would be good for the team.
Cal wasn't taking it as being criticized. He was complimented by it. What about you, Joe? Should Cal be more of a leader?
Well, I think both of these fellas are right. I think from Angelo's point, Cal could take more of a leadership role. But from Cal's side, he's saying, I lead by example, which he does.
All right. Well, we'll see Cal tonight. And the Orioles, we won't see Roberto Alomar. The Orioles and Red Sox coming up. Now, let's go back to you, Gary.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you at the top of the hour. Harold, you played alongside Cal. You heard what they said about it. You heard what Cal said. How does he demonstrate his leadership?
Well, Cal's not going to yell and rant and rave. That doesn't always determine a leader. Cal pulls guys aside, talks about situations, continually talking baseball. I know he pulled me aside and said, hey, here's a situation where you might bunt on your own, or here's what we're going to do on a cut and relay. Continually talking and teaching the game. That's how you lead. It's not yelling and screaming all the time. And I think a lot of people mistake personality for leadership. Cal's laid back. You saw him in the interview. That's the way Cal Ripken's going to be. He's 35 years old. I don't think he's going to change a whole lot.
Yeah, and he's not Superman. He gave you that advice just a couple of years ago. Now he's doing television. While Ripken is a third baseman who moved to shortstop and went on to win Gold Gloves, Tim Naring is a shortstop converted to third who has developed into a Gold Glove caliber defensive player himself. Naring knows his numbers are better than Travis Fryman's, but they had to make at least one Tiger an All-Star. The only Red Sox player selected was Mo Vaughn, but as Peter Gammas reports, it shouldn't be long before Naring's going along.
In a Red Sox season that has had all the joy of the Salem witch hunts, Tim Naring has been testament to the old-fashioned notion that no matter how bad it gets, no matter how little All-Star recognition one attracts, no matter how much one hurts, it's possible to go out every day, hit 300, and passionately compete as if it's all on the line.
Last year, it was very easy to play. The Boston Red Sox were on top all year long. It was easy to get up for the games. It was easy to come in because things were going well. It was easy to deal with failure. You go 0 for 4, but 20 people around you are happy because you won a ball game. This is when it's gut check time, when you've lost 5 straight ball games and you're standing out there for 3 hours and 30 minutes and it's the 8th inning and you're down 9-1. Who's got the guts and the mindset to keep concentrating and keep performing?
Last year's lingering Tim Naring moment was his 11th inning homer in the playoff opener in Cleveland to give the Red Sox a lead Albert Bell eventually took back against Rick Aguilera. It was also at the age of 28, the season he established himself as an everyday third baseman, hitting .307. He's over 300 again, with more power. He's become one of the game's premier defensive players at his position.
There's a ball hit to third, and another great play by Naring.
Haven't we figured that out yet, that that's not the place to go?
No.
He is honestly, I think, in my opinion, the best I've ever seen going laterally, either left or right, defensively on hard-hit one-hoppers.
Before the 1991 season, Red Sox manager Joe Morgan not only predicted that Naring would be Rookie of the Year, but compared him to Cal Ripken. Now, a lot of things happened in the next few years, and when the 1995 season opened, Naring had 120 more days on the disabled list than games played. That rookie season, Naring had back surgery. 2 years later, shoulder surgery with jammed ankles, and wrists interspersed.
There was definitely times when I thought there was no possible way that I would be able to continue playing, 25, 28 days in a row. I've already been to a point where I was out of the game. I think it helped me realize who was going to be with me through it all.
So even 40 miles of hard road behind the Yankees and Orioles, Naring has had his moments this year, like this home run in the 15th inning against the Indians at 12:53 in the morning.
Exhausted and everything else, and we've been playing for 5 hours and 40 minutes or whatever it was. There's a part of me that, it's pride. It's what it's about being an athlete.
For all his fire on the field, the quiet, unassuming Cincinnati native has strong beliefs about his responsibility as a player off the field.
I don't want to be remembered as one of those guys that just walk right by and don't care. I came across a young boy in Boston, Jamie Perry. He was a kid that was diagnosed with cancer. Here he was in those last couple months of his life, really dealing with a lot of pain and suffering, wanted to meet a ball player. And if we have that type of influence on kids, then some of us better step up and realize the responsibility that we have and do something about it. I started an organization called Athletes Reach Out.
Naring's Athletes Reach Out is his own corporation, programs for kids in Cincinnati, Boston, and all around the country. He's already attracted Nick Van Exel, several Red Sox teammates, Bob Huggins, and a number of Bengals, including Jeff Blake.
Well, I've got a miniature Fenway being built right now as we speak. It's probably about a $500,000 venture, and that'll be finished in September, and it's actually being built on the actual field that I played on when I was growing up.
To Tim Naring, there is no such thing as a lost season.
Thanks, Peter. Naring during the All-Star break will be back working on that Fenway Park reconstruction. His .326 average, and glove at third goes against Scott Erickson and the Orioles. He'll be batting fifth against him. It's in less than 15 minutes at the top of the hour. Harold, Kevin Kennedy may have made one of the most preposterous statements I've ever heard, saying he had the greatest lateral range on hard-hit balls. I don't know. They're playing Baltimore tonight. Brooks Robinson used to play there. But there's no doubt this guy is a very good glove man. The problem is he's stuck over at third in the corner. There isn't much defense anywhere else in the Red Sox.
There sure isn't. I mean, you win games with pitching and defense, and this year they thought they would go out and try to outslug everybody. And as we see, going to our graphic here, that they are dead last in defense all over the place, except for in the outfield, where they probably put on more of a circus than any other position. But they've had a lot of different combinations. They tried to put Cordero, move him back to second base, and he had never played there. He ended up getting hurt. And they've tried a lot of different things. They've mixed catchers in and out, and anytime you're continually changing your lineups, guys do not play consistent. And when everybody's erratic around you, you can't help but be erratic yourself. And that's what they've gotten from the Red Sox.
The Expos couldn't have finished up the first half more flatly. They came into July with a chance to tie the Braves for the lead with a sweep, and they lost 2 out of 3. Now New York has come north of the border, and almost 5 years to the day since they last did it, the Mets were trying for a 4-game sweep of the Expos. Hanging with Pete Harnisch against Rael Cormier. That's Ray Ordonez, incognito, getting the day off. Tied at 1 in the 6th, Chris Jones aboard. Jones waits for Cormier's pinch, and then he steals third. Harold, what happened here?
He's seen the catcher the whole day going to his knees. Now watch him. As soon as he drops his knees, take off. He's gone, and the pitcher gets it back. Everybody's surprised. That's just heads-up baseball.
Mets take the base. 2 pitches later, Cormier uncorks a wild pitch. Jones is going to give the Mets a 2-1 lead. Fletcher a little upset with himself, but he redeems himself. Crushes this shot with a man aboard. His 8th home run of the year off Harnisch. And the Expos win it 4-3. Cormier has his 2nd straight strong outing, leaving after a solo homer by Todd Hundley in the 9th, while Harnisch is now winless since the 1st of June. The Expos avert the sweep. They are now 2-5 in July. They stay within 5 of Atlanta. Harold, Felipe Alou had a special meeting with his catchers before the game to go over some of this stuff. What's the problem behind the plate?
Well, he's been very upset with the selection that they've made with the play calling, the pitches that have been thrown, the defense. We saw the lazy effort right there from Fletcher. He's been very upset. The catchers have to take control of that pitching staff. There's some young guys on there, and they haven't been doing that, and he was upset, and understandably so.
Okay, Fletcher redeems himself with the long ball, and they avert a complete disaster. To Chicago, the Reds wrapping up in Wrigley with a chance to make up ground in the Central. What an ending to the first half. It was a festive atmosphere in Wrigley. It was a tie game in the ninth. Nobody aboard. Terry Adams on in relief, but oh no, the Cubs had come back to tie it, but Thomas Howard puts the Reds ahead with a home run. And there after the ninth, they're now down 2. Dave Magadan 90 feet away, Ryan Sandberg against his old teammate, Lee Arthur Smith. And it's now a 6-5 game. Same score, 2 outs now. Runners at the corners for Sammy Sosa, the hometown hero. Cubs down to their last out. Smith hangs the slider. Sosa jumps on it and ties the game at 6. Stayed that way to the 12th. Magadan on again at 6-all. He's in scoring position. Sandberg goes the other way with it, squirts it through. Reggie Sanders up and gunning. He's got a cannon. Magadan's got a piano on his back. The piano is safe. Magadan is meat. The 13th. Mark Grace at second. Terry Shumpert, who has already been a late-inning hero once this year for the Cubs since being called up from the minors. This time, doubles into the Ivy. Grace comes home, and the Cubs celebrate by splitting the series with Cincinnati. The Reds could have gotten within a game of the lead in the loss column if they pulled this one out. Both teams used 7 pitchers. Starter Frank Castillo was in the Cubs' empty bullpen when it ended. Tanyan Sturtze picking up his first Major League victory, 4 shutout innings, a stellar effort for him in relief for the Cubs. We're back in 2 minutes. The A's have overtaken the Angels in the West. They've done it with a long ball. This one needed a long look before we ruled yay or nay. At the start of last year's All-Star game, the Rangers wrapping up the first half trying to solve Seattle and converted starter Bob Wells, who had won 7 in a row. The Mariners are trying to finish the first half with a 5th straight win, which would have gotten them within 2 games and given them 27 wins in their past 33 meetings with Texas. In the Metrodome, the bottom 2 teams in the Central, the Royals won 2 of the first 3 in the series, but Kansas City starter Tim Belcher had not won in more than a month. To Oakland, the A's hosting the Angels, having just overtaken them for 3rd place. A's down 2-1. Don Slot ground ball. Rare defensive mistake right through the wickets of Scott Brocious. Garrett Anderson gives the Angels the 3-1 advantage. Huge day for Chili Davis. 4th full in the day. Davis strokes a base knock to score Rex Hudler. Davis also knocked in 4 runs as the Angels knock off the A's 9-4. Chili Davis was hitting .417 in his career against Johns coming into this game. Johns left the game with an injury in the 6th, but it was already out of reach. At Tiger Stadium, Detroit coming off that demoralizing 15-0 demolition a day ago. Wasted no time. The Big Daddy, Cecil Fielder with the bases loaded, the grand slam, the 9th of his career off Jeff Ware, and the Tigers go on to turn things completely around, winning at 9-0. Cecil had not had a hit in July. It's his 10th career grand slam, his 2nd of this year, and just his 4th home run. Felipe Lira with his 2nd shutout in a 4-game winning streak. Back to the National League, the Dodgers starting the day in a dead heat with the Padres, and now looking for a sweep of the Rockies after that disaster last weekend in Denver. The Rockies, of course, had other ideas. Eric Young, who has been a nuisance to L.A., went into center field off Pedro Estacio. Walt Weiss gives the Rocks the first run of the game. Kevin Ritz, great defense, Harold.
Greg Gagne just rocks this ball down the line, but look at Vinny Castile dives away, and look at the strong arm the former shortstop made 3rd baseman. Tremendous play right there, getting up to his feet very quick.
That helps Ritz to his 10th win. Rocky's not used to this, a 3-0 win. Estacio, 3 of his 7 losses this year have been to the Rockies, as now it is time for the Padres to try and overtake L.A. for first. The former Dodger, Fernando Valenzuela, down in the 3-0 hole in the 4th when things exploded. Ken Caminiti getting things started. He'll be replacing the injured Matt Williams in the All-Star game. And he connects off Osvaldo Fernandez, his 12th of the year. Rob Deere, the man who replaced Tony Gwynn on the Padres roster, connects. He's already got 2 home runs in the majors. And Harold, then it's Henderson.
Ricky turns around a fastball with 2 men on, and as Ricky does, he's trying to celebrate, dancing a little bit too much, Ricky.
He's showing it, and the Padres hammer 3 homers in the inning. They jack the Giants again, this one 10-3. Fernando already 2-0 with a 2.70 ERA against the Giants coming in, picks up his 3rd win out of his 5 against San Francisco. It's the only team he's beaten since Memorial Day weekend. The Padres now won 8 straight meetings with the Giants, hitting nearly 100 points higher, scoring twice as often and pounding more than 2 homers a game during this dominating streak, which has put them in first place in the NL West. Still to get to on Baseball Tonight, all the day's home runs. Kenny Lofton tried everything he could to keep Robin Ventura from getting on Going, Going, Gone, but it's gone. And we'll also be back with Mo Vaughn and the Red Sox taking on the Orioles. Vaughn batting third, Canseco hitting cleanup. Herring hitting fifth. It's in 3.5 minutes.
Meet in Philly for the annual Midsummer Classic celebration. Coverage begins with the All-Star Gala, presented by Network MCI at 7:30. Then at 8:30, it's AL versus NL, when the vet becomes a launching pad. Everyone's looking to go yard in the Gillette Home Run Derby. At 10:30, the All-Star Celebrity Softball Game, presented by Network MCI. Baseball's biggest day, All-Star Monday, tomorrow on ESPN.
Baseball Tonight is being brought to you by Rheem Air Conditioning. You can relax with Rheem.
In orbit knows it is always a scream, get out. All the day's home runs. Make sure to join us Monday night from Philadelphia for the annual All-Star Gala. You'll hear from the players, then it's the Home Run Derby, followed by the Celebrity Softball Game, which will include our very own Harold Reynolds. The night gets underway at 7:30 Eastern Time. Harold, speaking of the All-Star Game, Matt Williams out of it, Ken Caminiti in it. The Padres were a little short-handed, but they missed a chance to satisfy you and put Sammy Sosa in.
Sammy Sosa is leading the league in homers. He's exciting, one of the most flamboyant players in the game. Tremendous marketing. We need him in the game, Gary. He's a Cub.
They're running out of time to get him there. I guess if he could play third base, he might be there. Don't forget, a full night of All-Star activities. It starts with the Gala at 7:30 Eastern Monday night, the Home Run Derby, and Harold and the Celebrity Game. Full reports on SportsCenter. But the first half can't end without the Red Sox and Orioles finishing up in Camden Yards. Our last Sunday night game of the week. Here are John and Joe.
Thanks, Gary. Now, in its 7th year, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, it's the game of the week. Tonight from Camden Yards in Baltimore, the Boston Red Sox and MVP Mo Vaughn take on Cal Ripken and the Baltimore Orioles. It's the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball game of the week.